Welcome to the Eagle Eye Podcast, the #1 show to bring you all things Club America and English.
Oh, what a strike! Club America!
Your hosts for today are Ivan Pineda, Cristian Rosendo, Alexis Juarez, and everyone's favorite cowboy, Dylan Jimenez. Now let's hit the field and start the show.
America! Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of the Eagle Eye Podcast. Today, we're going to be talking all things Club America in English, bringing you guys ready one step closer to the game against Rayados. And then, of course, we'll give you guys all the latest news in regards to the club. And joining me today to help me do all of that, it is none other than our own beloved cowboy. It is everyone's favorite podcaster here on the podcast, Dylan Jimenez. Dylan, how are you, my friend?
Doing good, man. Doing good. It's a Thursday. It's my Sunday, quote unquote, technically. So I mean, I just here chilling until I got to work tomorrow.
All right, nice. Chilling, doing cowboy things, I would assume.
Yes.
All right.
Yeehaw.
All right. And that yeehaw in the background is none other than our very own beloved Mr. Chris. How are you?
Good, bro. It's funny. We were just talking. What was it, Tuesday? About the weather, and now it's hot. It's just like a couple of days of like, oh, it's cold, bro. Like I'm waiting for the heat, and then now it's hot.
You sound like a true Californian there.
Exactly. And now we're gonna be talking about the heat until December, and then January comes and it's gonna be cold again.
There's no in between either. It's super cold or it's super hot. But it's the perfect weather regardless. Can't beat the lovely weather here in California. Isn't that right, Dylan?
Totally, dude. I've only been to the beach, so.
You caught him mid-drink. He's like, I don't know.
For real.
All right, well, let's carry along, ladies and gentlemen. Here, America versus Monterrey is what we're going to be talking about here, gentlemen. 3 big points at hand, and a chance to kind of lower the pecking order for Monterrey. Not to say that we're going to catch up to them by any means necessary, but Dylan, a huge game in regards to this one. Especially with the 2 points dropped against Leon. How do you feel coming into this?
I feel okay. Like you said, this is very big 3 points because we're sitting 4th right now with 24, if I'm not mistaken, with 24 points. So obviously this game is going to be very crucial, especially now that we're winding down to where we're going to finish in the season, if we're going to be in the repechaje or we're just going to advance and kind of get that bye, that rest, and go to the Liguilla. But this is very big points. I feel okay. I won't necessarily say I feel like confident, but I'm not necessarily like down bad either, because after the second half, the way it went against Leon, regardless, of conceding that late goal for the game to end in a draw, I feel okay because that second half was a little bit different from the first. But going into this, I'm pretty excited for it.
All right, I like it. Words of optimism there from our very own beloved cowboy. Chris, how are you feeling coming into this matchup?
I'm looking at it as a final. I think, like you said, it's not like we're gonna catch up to them. It's more of okay, we need to win these last games so we can maintain in the top 4. I thought we were second. I just once you said 4th, I was like, wait, what? But now that you said we're 4th, like that brings a lot of pressure to this game. Like we have to we have to come out with a point, and it has to be at least, for us to be comfortable, we have to get those 3 points. I think it's a tough game, and like I said, it feels like it's a final. I think you can't look at it like any other way. This has got to be kill or be killed, and I think the team has to look at it like that, and I would like us to approach the game just like that.
All right, gentlemen, let me take you guys back a couple of weeks now that you mentioned it's a game to kill or be killed. If we were having this discussion, what was it, almost 4 games ago, which is about a month time, when we thought it was time to press the panic button, but we said Monterrey was kind of your last game within these crucial 4 fixtures. Chris, would you say that we back then, would have said that this game was an automatic loss for that America side?
Yes, and I think some people would still say that. I wouldn't, but I think it would be a discussion that we would have with other fans just because of history and whatnot, and stylistically, and how much they've invested in there, and a lot of things. I think a lot of people may already have this as a loss. Personally, I think this is as big of a test as Pachuca was,
Yeah.
because leading up to that Pachuca game, we said the same thing. This is a test to see if we could go into the finals, and I think that's exactly what Rayo. This is a big test, and we have to win it. Like, even if we're not favored in this game, we have to win it.
Yeah, which is funny because Ivan says if you go back like 4 games, well, 4 games ago was the Pachuca game, which
Yeah.
obviously was not a very fun time for us. But again, if you look at it, it's the only loss, if I'm not mistaken, of the season so far. So we could easily come into this game, looking back at that Pachuca game and realizing like, okay, like if you take the mentality that Chris is saying, then like you can easily, not necessarily easily, backtrack that word a little bit, but you can come out and you can play to the level that Pachuca played or Monterrey played, and you can come out with on top of the victory, regardless if you're the underdog or not.
I think a lot of moving pieces have changed, right? In regards to that loss against Pachuca up to the point now against Monterrey, which I think Dylan makes it so that we're a little bit more optimistic, right? If I was to ask you after that Pachuca game, how would you feel about coming against Monterrey, knowing that they were the league leaders? You probably wouldn't be as so hype as you are to this day, right?
Yeah. Which I think it changes for me a little bit too because you saw us get punched in the mouth against Pachuca. And then you come out, I mean, regardless of what the team looked like, you come out and you take it to Tigres and you win 2-0. Then, obviously, then you had the Clásico and you win big in the Clásico. And yeah, I mean, it sucks, that you draw at the end against Leon, but there's a lot of change. A little bit has changed since then, and so I'm just looking towards the optimism, like you said, to where coming into this game, regardless of them being league leaders and having this great run of form right now. I don't think they've lost the game at all this season. I feel pretty optimistic in a sense.
Okay, I think a lot of Americanistas share that optimism as well, if I'm not mistaken, Chris. Even though you do say that there's one or two that may be still putting Monterrey above us in the pecking order, which I mean, quite understandably, right? The record shows for them not just the season, but their numbers against us. Obviously, I've always painted better.
Yeah, and I was looking at the table right now because when you said we're fourth, they only have one loss, and the funny thing is that we do too. The difference is we have a bunch of ties and they don't. So
Yeah.
maybe from that perspective, you might see this game be a lot more tighter than a lot of people would expect. I do see because we're playing at home, right? If I'm not mistaken, it's at home.
Correct. Yeah, it's at
Mm-hmm.
Azteca.
I think
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that gives us the advantage because, like the Leon game, right? Leon, the first half it was ugly, but the fact that we play at home, you see this team grow. So maybe it could be one of those things where yeah, we see a little bit of that ugly side, but being at home, we see the offense grow, and I think it could end up being one of those games.
Agreed. I think it could paint for interesting things. Now, before we dive into the full preview, let's give a little bit of a club update in regards to what's going on around America, just to kind of get the people kind of caught up ahead before the game against Monterrey. As far as injuries go, Roger Martinez is still out. He didn't present himself today in training. Neither did Jurgen Damm or Pedro Aquino. Two of those players ruled out because of injury. We know that Roger Martinez is one of them, and now apparently Pedro Aquino is one. Apparently, he went down with
Henry
illness,
Martin too.
and Henry Martin is injured.
Well, I don't know if he's injured, but he's training separate from the club, from the
Oh
team.
God,
Okay,
there goes
he
my
might have.
optimism.
He might- there goes all Dylan's hope for Saturday.
There goes Viñas.
Oh God, no. But we'll see. I think Henry might be fine, and I only say that is because I saw him gear up, and maybe I don't know. I'm pretty sure he played yesterday against the inaugural blind team that America introduced yesterday, which I think was amazing. What they did there, making a step forward in sports. But I saw him suit up, and he was there. So I don't know if he was just there for the promotion of it, like for the pictures and everything. But I do think everyone who suited up ended up being on the field as well. So I think maybe it's just something precautionary. Do expect him to be 100% ready
He
for
has played
tomorrow,
a
though.
lot with the
Yeah,
national team and with us, so it could just be like hey, don't overdo it, because you know. I
Yeah,
mean, who I would assume he's the player that has played the most minutes, right? Who would you guys think is like top three?
it has to
Fidalgo,
be Henry,
Fidalgo.
Fidalgo, and
Chava Reyes. I don't think
Sure.
we've
no,
seen Fuentes at all this season.
and maybe Diego Valdez. I
You
want to
know what?
say.
I'm gonna look that right now.
So while Dylan gets us all that stats, undoubtedly it has to be Henry. I don't think we've started a forward other than him. So Henry for sure has, I think, played all the
And
minutes.
then this is like considering national team too, so it's like
Yeah,
he
I,
has
I would
played
say, yeah, I would say it's
a
him.
lot.
We got Carlos Diaz in the chat. He says, "I love all of the new Chris picks."
I try to make it a theme, every team that we play, like try to put a. Obviously, this is a Samudio one telling about that penalty that wasn't a penalty to make things clear.
Yeah,
So every week when we do this, I try to make it a theme. Obviously, last week was titty.
come on.
I want Ivan to say it.
No, my explicit language is was reserved for that Monday episode and that Monday episode only. Although, did you guys see the
The shirts
some
are
guy
selling.
made like a T-shirt?
Yeah, I seen that.
I thought that was hilarious. Um, but other than that, as far as injuries go, that's kind of it. Everyone else should be fully fit and ready to go. Obviously, though, no Tano Ortiz due to his 2 ban suspension. What do you guys think? Was 2 games a bit too harsh, or was it well deserved?
Too harsh in my
Yeah, I
opinion.
think it's a little harsh. Yeah.
I would
Same.
just done one
I think one would have been enough.
because he's also getting fined.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, I agree. It's a little bit heavy, but hey, the league's gonna try to do what they can to always set an example, especially when America's involved, right? So
And then the you
that's
see the ref, he got a whole season.
yeah.
Wasn't like 12 games really, but it's the
Well,
rest of
12
the
games, but
season. Yeah, that's the
that's
rest of
almost the
the.
whole season. That's the rest of
Oh
this
yeah, that's
season
true.
plus half of
At
the other
least
one.
half. Yeah.
That's
So
crazy.
that is 100% crazy. And then I'm pretty sure we know who's refing on Saturday already, right?
I would assume they already said, but I'm gonna be honest. I don't even know these guys' names. I only know them by their face. So the moment they announce it, I'm just like, oh, okay.
He's like, oh, okay.
And then I see
him
him in the
again.
game. I see him in the game, and I'm just like, oh man, it's that guy. It's the bald guy. I don't like that.
Oh man. Well, any more news and updates, rumors that you guys have heard over the past couple of days before we jump into the rest of this Rayados game?
We already talked about the Matias Rojas, but they came out again today. So I don't know if you want to get Dylan's comments on that or.
Yeah, I mean, Dylan, Matias Rojas obviously coming out that he wants to leave the club. Although the Racing want to keep him, America seems to be very interested in him. He seems to be a very promising player, Paraguayan. We know our connections to those type of players beforehand. He seems to be an interesting player. I mean, your thoughts?
I have no thoughts.
I don't even
Just,
know who that is.
just he's that midfielder, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just back to AJ's point. Why are we bringing all these midfielders? It's just gonna take up space at this point.
Yeah.
We got so many other needs, and we want another midfielder. So
Yeah. Although, I mean,
Which is
how old is
crazy. He's 27, so it's another.
Ooh,
Like,
I don't know.
But he's considered
that-
the best player in the Argentinian. So
I think it only works if you get rid of Diego Valdez because they
Well,
play
then
in the same
again-
position.
But then again, look at our wingers. Like we have all these.
He likes to play more in the middle, though.
I know, but like depth, like who?
just get
if,
him Valdez and get him.
Valdez
the
gets
10.
injured, who you put right there? Like, that's my thing, and I understand. I completely agree with you guys. Like why, But
Put
I
Fidalgo
think
there.
if you look at the way they're building this team, it's just that they want to have the like 2 starters in every position.
Which I mean, it's not bad of an idea, but it's just you got to patch up the defense, and I think we mentioned that before too. It's leaking goals, so get that all sorted out first, and then we'll go from there. But that seems to be the only transfer rumor going in and about America, which seems a little rare. Usually,
Too
you hear a
early.
little bit more names,
It's too
but
early.
then it might be the fact that it's a little too early too. But again, a lot of moving pieces. I know there was some talk about Tano Ortiz is gone if he doesn't win the league this season. I know more rumors of that started popping up, but again, it's too early to tell.
There's
And
also
then we'll go from there.
Henry Martin rumors to Saudi Arabia and Brazil. I don't know if we've touched on that, but I guess they want to
Uh,
extend his contract instead, which is the smart thing to do. And hopefully, someone from Europe tries to sign him, or better yet, keep him in the club while he's still hot. You know?
I think that's gonna be the goal for this America side to keep Henry.
Yeah.
But hey, Henry could go to Brighton Hove Albion. I think I can see him scoring a couple goals there.
I
Yeah,
mean,
scoring against United.
Chelsea needs a
United and
striker.
Chelsea.
Yeah, there you go.
Chelsea needs a striker, so I'll
You guys
take
are in
him.
desperate need of one too.
Chelsea
I'll take him over
Chelsea
Havertz.
would ruin. Chelsea would ruin him.
Would they, or would it become the best attacking Concacaf partnership that we have ever seen with Christian
Ooh.
Pulisic on one
Nah,
side
we
and
gotta get
Henry
rid of
Martin
him.
on the
We
other?
gotta get rid of Pulisic. We gotta get rid of him, bro. I'm sorry. I know some of our listeners might not like that. They're U.S. fans, but as a Chelsea fan,
We're all U.S. fans after Sendejas converted.
oh, that's true. I know a lot of people get mad at that.
They do. Did you guys see that he was the speaker today at the press conference,
Yeah,
and he spoke about the fact about why he switched over and everything, and he said that he enjoyed his time at the with the U.S. men's national team, and he really feels at home in that sense. So I thought that was interesting that he came out and said those things.
I mean they try to lock him up pretty nasty, just giving him papers while he's getting on the bus, and it's just horrible recruitment from the national team. But we're not here to cover that. Because if we did, a lot of people would get mad at that too.
That's a
It's
different
club.
podcast.
It's club over country.
Always club or country. Crew says it has been so awesome seeing Henry get back into form from a long period of being on raquetas. Now he is patas the sniper. That's a very good analogy. I love who's the guy that does those videos for like Twitter, the with the Dragon Ball Z kind of theme music
Yeah,
and
I
all
know.
that
I
stuff.
think it's like Jay Zilla or something like that, right?
Victor Zilla or something
Victor
like that,
Zilla,
right?
yeah,
Shout
yeah.
out to you, my man. He follows me on Twitter. Shout out to him. He puts in such work doing those little kind of recaps, and I love it. I love it. Yeah, look, Victor Zilla. Yeah, shout out to Victor. He is hilarious, and I love it whenever Henry scores a goal because he'll bring something up like patas de raquetas or like patas de sniper. Like it cracks me up every time I watch it. So shout out to him. Yeah, he absolutely blew up doing those things, and rightfully so. He put in a lot of work and deserves the merit of it as well. But okay, gentlemen, let's jump into the actual topic of discussion today: America versus Rayados. This Saturday at the Estadio Azteca, 6 p.m. Pacific time, 8 Central, 9 Eastern. And for those of you that are so happen to be in Mexico City, it's gonna be at 7 p.m. So I know weird times, but it is what it is with them not observing daylight savings and us here. Obviously, we do. But this is, like we mentioned, a huge game. I wouldn't say a 6 pointer because we're not really in that contender, but we need to scale the table. And I think anything that isn't a top three finish for America could be looked down upon. I think with the way that things have been going for America, it has to be at least a top three performance. So I mean, it's important. It's important not to drop any points. And Carlos put in perspective, right? It's going to be the best defense against the best offense.
Which feels like it. We've been saying that for the past 3 weeks, right? That we're facing
Yeah.
the best defense. That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, it's because other teams know how to defend, and America just happened to throw away those pages out of the tactic book. But all right, let's talking about tactics. How does Atano Ortiz, or at least his staff, approach this game, Dylan? We don't have the amazing Galindo in the Piojo Herrera days to lead us to victory, like he always used to do when Piojo got red cards. Now it's gonna be up to Tano Ortiz's uh, who is his auxiliar?
It's Juan Pablo Rodriguez, no? El Chato.
Mm, El Chato
He's one of them.
Rodriguez.
He's one of them. I know
He's
he's
one
one
of
of them.
them, but I think it's the other one, the one that I sent to you guys. I'll find it. But Dylan, how does Tano Ortiz's um, team kind of prepare for this game for against Monterrey?
Um, I think this is going to be the game where you have to go out and you have to punch arrows in the mouth. Am I wrong? I mean, you. I think especially with the since you're in the Azteca, you're the home team. I feel like you have to dictate the game. You have to be in control of the game this whole time. Especially if you want to stay at home, defend home turf, and walk away with 3 points like we want. Especially with the way the table is looking. I mean, I think it's 3 points to nothing at this point. Like, yeah, I mean, this might not be necessarily the popular opinion, but like, I think a draw is kind of okay in a sense. Not really happy with that either, though. But I mean, you want to go out with 3 points, and I think you just kind of have to come out, like I said, and punch them in the mouth. I mean, if especially if Henry starts, like a lot of this is gonna have to, in a way, fall on Henry. Is gonna fall on Valdez. It's gonna fall on probably Cabecita, and it's just if you want to step up to the plate and show the league that you can compete with Rayados, and especially after the Pachuca game, then this is the time that you got to come out and just not be vanilla in the attack and just go with it.
Perfectly well put right there, Dylan. Can't be anything like that. You got to go and start the game off strong. The way we know this America side can, right? The way that we brought it against Tigres, the way that we brought it against Chivas, this has to be kind of the ammo for America, right? An early goal is crucial in order to kind of get get the team going, right? If you get a goal in, you see this America side usually try to find that second. And it's a funny stat, but America loves themselves a goal in the first half. I know we didn't get that against Leon, but typically this team has a tendency to score within the first 45 minutes. So crucial, crucial, crucial. And on the other side, Chris, I think it's also very important not to concede a goal. If going into the halftime, at least with a clean sheet, I think is going to be very, very pivotal.
It's hard to say that we'll get a clean sheet in this type of game. We look at it from a paper standpoint, right? We look at the names and we know our weaknesses. So for me, like you're talking about scoring first, right? Being the first one to punch them in the mouth. I agree with that because I think we can't get rattled in these type of games. I think we have to rattle them, make them have to risk more going forward, so we could go and score more. You know what I mean? I think uh, I don't know how this team is gonna look with Tano not there, but if it's the same type of like, oh well, once the 70th minute comes, we start making these subs, kind of start defending. It's ideal that we have at least two goals already ahead because I don't know if we were 1-0, right? I don't know if we're able to keep them off from scoring with 30 minutes left, right? I think we have to, this is a game that has to be high scoring for America. We need to get Cabecita going. We need to get Valdez going. We got to get Sendejas going. We got to get Henry going because I don't know if they're the ones to score first and attack, like have the better game. I don't know if this game ends up being another Pachuca game. I know we blamed a lot the keeper for that Pachuca game, but also from a defensive standpoint, like we can't make this ugly at all.
No, not at all, by any means necessary. Crew Epicness saying, I am so scared for the game, LMAO. We have never had good luck with Rayados. I feel like we've lost every game with them for a few seasons now. And I think that's the general perspective that all of us have, right? We don't have a good memory against Monterrey, and America has an opportunity to start rewriting history in coming up this Saturday at the Estadio Azteca. So a lot of things on the line here, but most of all, for America's sake, is an opportunity to test themselves against a title contender team that could potentially be someone that we face in the Liguilla, Dylan. So I mean, knowing that, and piggybacking off of what Chris mentioned, is this all painting for another epic, 3-4 goal classic game.
Yeah, I think so, especially with the way we've been so critical of the defense, which obviously we kind of touched on too, especially talking about some transfer rumors and stuff, wanting to patch that up. But this game's going to be very, very critical, and also I think it's going to. I think if you're a better, I think I'd bet the over on the 2.5 or 3.5 probably. And so, yeah, it's just one of those things too, where like obviously, like you said, Ivan, you want this side to get the early goal, but I think if this side does, I wouldn't be surprised to where if Monterrey just starts to get ready to throw in the kitchen sink a little bit just to be like, okay, we need to get one back now. And then all of a sudden, if they do get one, then America's got to be in turn and be like, okay, now we got to get the lead back. And so I think it's just going to be kind of one of those back and forth things, and we're just going to see goals galore probably.
No, I agree. I think there's a lot of optimism that this game could potentially be a high scoring one. And I know for neutrals perspective, I think they're looking at this game as, oh, okay, this could definitely be kind of the game of the jornada. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll have to wait and see. I don't think it's gonna be like a 3-3 all like we saw the Clásico Tapatio, but it has, I think, all the right components for this
Yeah.
game to lead up to something big. And who's to say? Maybe we're talking about this and America ends up, wiping the floor with Monterrey, and we're talking about a 4-0 victory at the Estadio Azteca. Like that's America has that in them, right? It's not. I think you mentioned it, Chris. We can score goals on anyone. We can score up to 2-3 goals against anyone. It's like
During
keeping
ugly
them from
moments of the game
scoring.
too. It's not just like we're building it up. It could be like the ugliest 2, 3 goals that we score in one game, and we sit here kind of complain like it should have been 7 goals. I know Ivan likes making those comments after the game,
Yeah, no.
but it is that feeling that sometimes you look at these
Yeah.
teams and it's like we shouldn't be struggling, we shouldn't be making this ugly, and yet we win a good 2-0 or a 3-0, or we score all these goals, and it's like, okay, like in this game too, like Monterrey could also be one of those teams that are overconfident, right? They'll say we're first place, we're gonna go make a statement with beating them up. Well, you don't want to get too comfortable with our attack, because we've seen like Henry comes out dribbling from the midfield and passes it to Sendejas. Sendejas goes, makes a play, and then here comes Henry scoring. We've seen that just with against Leon. You see that a lot. You see a Cabecita get wide open, no one around him. He just curves it in and it goes in. You see Valdez have these spectacular games that nobody expects out of nowhere. And he's let's say it too. This is probably Valdez's best season so far. Like there's some other seasons he was kind of like he goes completely. Like you don't see that now. You see it kind of consistent now that he's there, and hopefully going into Liga he's still the same player. But like they can't get confident against us either. This is a team that even if you see our weakness and you push us back, like one bad step and here comes our goal. And so it's going to be a very interesting matchup. How they present themselves and how we present ourselves, because they could, like you said, we might not expect a 3-3, but it's possible too. It's if you look at how these teams are moving.
I mean, goals galore is what we're painting over here, and watch it be a 1-0 to someone.
I know, right?
0-0. All right, let's talk possible lineups here, because I think it's kind of crucial going forward, in kind of having an idea of who's going to be playing in what position.
Oscar and goal.
No, I don't.
No,
Let's hope not.
I'll
This is
turn off
not
the
a game
TV.
for us. Like I'm not even gonna watch this anymore. And then you turn it back on. It's like Oscar has scored a hat trick to give America the victory 3-2.
Oh man.
But okay, so obviously Malagon in goal, and let's talk about that just for a brief second. He has had no easy games whatsoever
Uh-oh.
since coming into the America starting 11. Right away at Tigres, that's always a difficult match. I think he did phenomenal. I think that might be his best game in an America jersey. Goes up against Chivas in a Clásico away at the Akron. Again, not an easy task. I thought he did a good job. And then against a very good Leon side the following week, well, after the international break, but the following game after that, and he didn't look his best. But again, it's not easy to do it when your defense isn't really helping you out as much as it should be. and now going up against Monterrey, the league leader. So it's like Malagon has had no break whatsoever. Although Dylan, I think this is a good thing.
Yeah, no, I think so because man, you've gotten tested this much. I mean, obviously, the Tigres game, like you said, best game for him so far in the America jersey. It just sucks that in that Chivas game, on this piece of paper, you're gonna see that they scored two, and you probably think, oh, like Malagon gave up two goals when. In reality, a lot of decided to just net it for Chivas themselves. So
Yeah.
I wish it stayed 4-1, and then obviously, I mean, some of the struggles were shown against Leon, but I think he knows now, like what's expected, and especially now he's going to be looking at Monterrey and just like, okay, like I know it's coming, and so I think he's going to be just focused and he's lasered in on protecting the net as best he can.
And Chris, I know you've been a very advocate, you know, supporter of Malagon and an opportunity to cement his place in a potential Mexican national team call up here with a good game against Monterrey. I know the rumors have been there.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up. We didn't really talk about him being rumored for the U.S. team. He's not for the U.S. game. He's not going to play, but still, it shows that he has been growing. A lot of people are going to say, "Oh, all of a sudden, because he plays for America." The brother's solid, bro. He's solid. Like you look at every Mexican keeper, and people get mad. We see the debates. Oh, Ochoa is only there because there's no one better than Ochoa right now. In second place, there's really you could argue for so many guys that you don't want to argue for because of age, because of this, because of that. But there's no clear second. And I think Malagon, while he's not like we're not gonna sit here and argue, oh, he's one of the best keepers in the league. I'm not gonna argue that. But I will say this, for the situation he ended up like coming in, he deserves every praise right now. Because one thing I said about Oscar Jimenez and when I was asking for Malagon to start is don't be the reason why we get scored on. And right now, like, can you name one goal that you could, or like any goal that you could sit here and say is because of him? No, I don't think you can. I think our defense has done what they're known to do while they were with Ochoa, and even in some aspects with Jimenez, But I think Malagon deserves every praise right now, and I think he's only going to get better. And I think it's now Banos' turn to sit here and say, "Look, I have a young goalkeeper. My idea has always been to send players to Europe, whether we agree with it or not. We have a young keeper that we could do that with. Now let me make him look like $1 billion. So I'm excited for Malagon. I think he deserves the call up. I think he deserves being the starter. And for me, I want to run it with him, run it with him for next season too. And I know that's a conversation we're gonna have because we're gonna be rumored with a lot of extranjero goalkeepers, starting with Marchesin. But me personally, I want to run it back with him next season.
I like it. I like it because I think I'm inclined to do the same thing. I don't think we should be wasting an international like foreigner spot on a goalkeeper when you have the likes of Malagon. Now, the only goal I will kind of maybe give 50-50 responsibility to is the header against Leon. I think he gets a hand to it. He should be doing a little bit of a better
I
job there.
agree, but overall, you can't say here like Jimenez. We blamed a lot of these goals because he like those type of goals, but it happened way too much.
Yeah. No, no, of course, of course. But I mean, that's kind of the goalkeeper situation here. I mean, Dylan, what is Mana gonna have to do to convince you? Because I know you're one glued to the goalkeeper position as well. What does he have to do in order to kind of be like, okay, he won me over?
Um, I mean, he's doing it right now for me. I mean, like Chris said, there's nothing to point out really that you can be like, oh, like this goal was his fault, like we could with Oscar probably. But I just think if he can ride this form, even build it up and be better and be consistent in between the sticks, then I mean, why not? I mean, why not go for it? I mean, we're looking at this though, and like I've kind of mentioned before, like it's a small sample size with him. It's what 4 games with him so far, 3 games. So it's a small sample size, but it's a good start. It's a good start for his run and form in an America jersey. So I mean, if he can just keep it up to form and even build on it somehow, some way, then I'm down to run it back with him.
Agreed in that sense. Well, we'll see what happens, but 4 pretty big games for him, and if he's able to even get a chance at a clean sheet at Monterrey, and he absolutely gets it. I think that's a big plus on his resume. All right, let's go through the rest of this starting 11, which I mean, I think it's going to be the same thing that we pretty much played against Leon with. So you're going to have Emilio Lara at right back, Chava Reyes on the left. In the center back partnership is going to be Israel Reyes and Cáceres because I just don't see any other better partnership in that, especially after the Nestor Araujo mistake. In the midfield, you're going to have Richard Sanchez and Alvaro Fidalgo, which I think is going to be crucial as to how the America team moves forward. Diego Valdez in that central attacking mid role. And on the left hand side, you probably will see Cabecitas, although I think Brian Rodriguez did enough to kind of put his hand up and say, look, take me into consideration. And of course, Sendejas on the right. No one's taking that position after the terrible game that Leo Suarez had against Leon. And then, of course, up top, Henry Martin, your league leader goal scorer with 12 goals, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yeah, 12 goals.
12 goals. Let's
First
make
time
it
since
16.
Chucho Benitez. So
Yeah, it's huge. Huge for him. Absolutely huge for him. But that's the lineup that I'm most likely confident that Tano Ortiz will go with. Do you guys make any changes to that?
no, I mean, I think putting Cabecita just makes sense because we're gonna need goals. I don't think Brian Rodriguez brings that. I think second half with fresh legs, Brian Rodriguez is perfect because I do think you need someone that's able to break into the defense, which I think he's way better than Cabecita.
I agree. I agree. Dylan?
No, I'm all for it.
All right. Well, that is our best starting 11. Let's face it, right? I mean, maybe one or two players could be plucked out and put in a different player, but for the most part, that is going to be what you see against Rayados. And I think it's crucial that that midfield wakes up and starts playing the games that we know that they can, right? You mentioned that, Chris. Diego Valdez, when he's on one, he's on one. He's amazing. Absolutely amazing. He's been on fire this season, and we need him to continue that good run of form. He needs to be willing to kind of get himself in these opportunity to score goals, which he did again against Leon, and two of them were called offside, the goals that he scored. But he got himself in promising positions, and when he started moving the ball around, you saw things happen for America. Alvaro Fidalgo is another player that I think needs to kind of step it up. He's been a little quiet these past couple of games, especially the Leon game. I get it that they pressed him, and this is a game tactic that I feel Monterrey might do as well. So he needs to find a way to kind of contradict that and step up and be the playmaker that we know he can be. Because let's face it, Dylan, when Fidalgo is, on fire, this America side just looks unstoppable.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely agree. I don't think Brian would appreciate that comment though.
That I think that's what he means by that. We pamper him too much.
Yes, yes.
But I mean, besides the midfield, what else needs to be key for America, Chris?
We're talking about him, Malagon. He has to be. Also, their attack is nice too individually. I don't know how they look from stats, right? But they're a very nice team overall, and I think Malagon has to be everywhere.
Yeah, I mean they're coming off a 4-0 victory.
Funes Mori turns it up against us, and a lot of the times, like it's stuff. I mean, you can't really blame goalkeeper, but it's that whole not coming out stuff. Like Chilena, for example. I'm not gonna blame the goalkeeper, but I think if Malagon does, because he does come out more, I think that's where Funes Mori might be a little like shocked, a little stunned. And I think, like I said, our marking has been ugly. I don't want to see Funes Mori like just be alone and does a chilena on on us. So I think Malagon has to be like aware of everything. Everybody just yell at Emilio Lara, smack him if you have to. But like,
yeah, because that's our biggest. That is our weakest link right now. That right back position is arguably where every team should probably try to go and attack us.
Yeah, and from the air, not even from like the ground. Because I think Emilio Lara, like, you could see the special traits that he has. A lot of people might in here have said that I'm a Emilio Lara hater. No, I think he's a special kid. But there's fundamentals that you need to like have it no matter what. It doesn't matter how, like, how they say, like, it doesn't matter how special talent you are. If you don't work hard, the talent goes away. It doesn't matter, right? Same thing here. Like he's like, you watch him play, like he runs so fast. I don't know if you guys ever noticed, like he'll be up top with Sendejas and you see him just run and catch up to the winger. And I like for me that's a special talent. But you need to you need to focus on your fundamentals, and you'll get there. You'll be a special player. Like you'll be in the national team, and you'll be in Europe, and you'll be this big star if you just focus and work hard. So far, it doesn't really look like he's been working on that, but I hope, like he gets better because he's still a very young player.
He is, and then like you mentioned, he has that fundamental. He has that foundation, right, and that talent to kind of build him to go be that better player. But like you mentioned, it's all that hard work, that discipline. That's the most important thing. And well, that's the thing with Emilio, right? We haven't seen much of that, especially when it comes to being disciplined and marking your man. Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating overall. But I mean, should we already say that? Should we come into this game already saying, okay, Monterrey probably has a goal already locked in for them, Dylan?
I think so. It's gonna
Wow,
come
really?
up. It's gonna come from Mulalata.
Oh man. Oh, then we're gonna have a very interesting podcast once we cover the
the
results and
recap
stuff.
of that game. I mean, I don't know how to spin the whole defense for America. There's no optimistic way of viewing it, really. In reality, you kind of feel like we're at shambles here, and going up against this team against Monterrey, Chris, this might be have to be a situation where the offense needs to be like, well, we got to score more goals because we know that we're most likely going to concede.
I'm a little optimistic for this game. I don't know why. I do think we might be better defensively. Someone's gonna get this recording and be like, "Look, bro, it's your fault because you jinxed us. You should have known better." I know AJ will bring it up anytime I
Yeah.
say
He will.
something.
He will.
but but I don't know. Like I think I it's hard to say, but I do agree that the offense needs to just score no matter what. Like because I've seen like last year against Toluca, they blamed like Henry Martin and all these other players because they didn't score. And in my opinion, it's like, well, if all your defense puts you in a bad position, how do you expect to like, oh, I'm just gonna go score? Well, this team already gets comfortable back and it makes everything more difficult, you know. But I agree. I do agree that the offense is just to start. It needs to click from the start. It can't be like Leon, where you make a couple subs and everything is better. It needs to click from the start, you know. And I believe in our attackers. I could see us winning this game.
Okay, I like it. Well, let's hope we roll with that optimism going into the Azteca on Saturday. And well, with that, gentlemen, give me your predictions because I think it's gonna be interesting. The next kind of question I have lies where you guys have your predictions at hand. So, Chris, what is your prediction for Saturday?
I'm gonna say 2-1, but I wanted to say 3-2 for America. But I'm gonna say
Okay,
2-1. I don't think it'll be a whole
a
mess.
massive goal
Yeah,
fest.
I don't think
Okay,
it'll be that. I think it'll be one of those things where the goalkeepers have their moments, but I think we end up scoring too.
all right, Dylan.
10-10.
10-10.
Who scores them all?
Henry scores all 10.
Okay,
Wow, that
that's
that that
perfect.
that clinches his golden boot right there.
No, in all seriousness, I will take a 2-1 win.
2-1 win. I like it. I like it.
Sorry, no clean sheet, Ivan.
No, I know. I'm not optimistic for a clean sheet at all this game either. I mean, I was
This
for the other
season.
games. Yeah, well, maybe no. I think for the season we could still grab a couple of clean sheets, but this game with Monterrey, the way that they've been playing, I mean, you just see, like I mentioned, a 4-0 thrashing against Cholos, where we barely were able to beat them 2-1. So I just feel like this is a Monterrey side that knows how to score goals, and this is an America side that knows how to concede goals. It's like they were born for each other in this sense. I'm gonna go with a 3-2 victory for America. I feel like my heart will be racing and pounding throughout the whole game, but a victory is crucial. Although I want to, talk about the fact that you mentioned something particularly, Dylan. You said a draw here wouldn't be the end of the world.
No, for me, it wouldn't, but it would still suck if that makes sense.
Well, let me
Agreed.
ask you this:
No, you
Is
can't
it
ask me
the
anything.
okay? Okay. Is it the end of the world if Chivas and Pachuca win, who are underneath us, and we end up being in repechaje, and now our last three games are must win now?
I mean, that's
Well,
that's that's the tough thing
Like you
about
could
it, right?
argue they already must win, right? But
Yeah,
now it's like
I think the
must.
rest
more
of the
so.
season, I think the rest of the season, regardless, is a must-win.
I
Yeah,
agree with that, but I
but I
think
think it's added pressure now.
yeah, and I think now that's when we start talking about Thanos' job. Well, maybe it's too extreme, right? Because it's still repechaje. It really depends on how you do there, right? And we've also
Yeah,
seen that when we go into Liguilla, it's not like this, like, oh, we got the week off and we're gonna be rested and go all that. Against Puebla we did, but other than that, we had some very ugly Liguillas, right? Like,
yeah.
is it possible that my bad if you hear my dad screaming in the background, but is it possible that it just gets very ugly?
There's a possibility, but I mean, I get where your perspective is, Dylan. That it's not the end. Well, it shouldn't be painted as the end of the world if you get a draw against Monterrey, right? Seeing that they're the league leaders, you haven't played your best football in the past week. This might be one of those games that you take a draw and say, okay, kudos. And on the other hand, I mean, when we first talked after the Pachuca game, we said uh, 8 points was optimal for this America side, especially with the way that we were playing. We said with Dan Ortiz getting at least 8 points, it was more than just ideal, right? At the moment, America has gotten 7 out of those games. There's only one game left. The Monterrey, if they draw, that's the 8 that we've kind of all came to that conclusion, that magical number. And now you sit here, Chris, and you're thinking to yourself, wow, that 8 is probably not a good number. We needed more. And we should be getting more, to be honest. And so now the question stands, like Chris put it out there, with this draw, getting those 8 points from those 4 matches, sitting potentially in repechaje, now things don't pan out as good as we thought they were. So it has to be a must win for America. I don't think a draw is suitable, not even to their perspective. I think Dan
Mm,
Ortiz knows it, and they know that there is this kind of dark looming figure over them if they do get a draw, because I'm pretty sure it's gonna be hashtag fuera Tano
yeah,
if we start seeing the team regress in the league table.
yeah, yeah. No, I definitely agree, and that's what it will be. I mean, I still stand by. It's not the necessarily the end of the world if it's a draw, but obviously this game is a must win, and like I said, the rest of the season is a must win because, I mean, regardless, you look at the table and like Chris said, Pachuca and Chivas are like right there on America's heels, and it shouldn't have necessarily been that way.
No, not at all, Chris.
And I guess it also depends on your perspective of repechaje, right? Like some of us might be bothered if America doesn't make it in top four. There's others which I'm sure like Dylan might be like, okay, I'm okay with repechaje as long as we win it, and we win because like if we go on repechaje and we win it all, like it really didn't matter where we placed in the table, you know. So I guess it really depends on how we end up doing in repechaje. I think it is a must win, but it also like the pressure guess would come from the fact of your perspective of the repechaje and what are you okay with being in repechaje.
Well, I mean, the argument is there, right? Because America doesn't do so hot whenever we have a week off. I mean, look, I can give you a perfect example. Last week against Leon, we had a week off because of the international break, and look what happened, right? We were on a hot streak, and all of a sudden we deflated. So, I mean, the argument's there, and I can see why maybe a repechaje could, in theory, be a good thing. But the reality is, you're America, right? And yes, I get it. At the end of the season, what matters is the end result, right? So if you win and you went into the lead into the repechaje as 12th spot, what does it matter? But the reality is that we have this high standard, this high, you know, image to keep up, right? Being America, being the biggest club in Mexico and in North America, that you don't have this privilege to say, oh, maybe we get into repechaje and kind of see where we're at, and maybe we can win all these games, get momentum. It's like, no, the reality is we're America, and if we're not finishing in first place and winning a title, then it's a bust. And since we're in fourth place, we're still looking at it as this might not be so great. So it's a gift and a curse to be an Americanista and to be part of this institution, because there's a lot of, you know, a lot of high standards that need to be met. And throughout the season, you're getting a peek of it right now. What happens when you don't? Last season, when America was flying high, we didn't have these talks. We didn't have these discussions. They were different. You know, they were like, how can we cement a better form going into Liga? Now it's, can we catch up to the rest of the party, and can we find some form while we're doing it, right? And the last thing that America wants to do is be the catch-up party. America always wants to be the leader, never the follower.
Right. No, I definitely agree.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
But it'll be interesting. That is to say the least, because this is going to be a high intensity game. I know we joked around and said it might end up as a 0-0, but I would be hugely shocked if that was the case, to be honest. So we'll see what happens, but we'll give you guys covered and everything in regards. So head on over to our Twitter at EY Podcast or our Instagram at EY Podcast as well. And make sure you guys follow us to keep up to date with everything going on in the world of Las Águilas del América and all the great posts that we are doing over there and interacting with you guys. So thank you so much for all of you guys who are liking, retweeting, commenting, and most importantly, coming on to the live shows as well. We love it. We're glad that you guys are here and talking all things Club América with us. So hopefully you guys are back next week as we discuss more and more. But all right, gentlemen, anything else to add on before we kind of wrap up the show?
Nah, everything good, brother.
No?
All good.
All right, I just got one thing. I want to call out Christian because he said he was going to join us. Right? He said he was going to join us late, and he never made it. All right? So all of you guys, go tweet at Christian and you know.
Tell him that he's a Chivas fan for not making it.
That's harsh. That's a harsh punishment.
You're a Chivas fan now.
Oh my goodness. But no, just kidding. Shout out to Christian and AJ, our two representatives over there in the New York area, always doing what they do. But all right, well, gentlemen, I just want to say thank you so much for coming out, Dylan. I know a lot of our listeners and a lot of our viewers were hoping to see you sometime soon, and I'm glad that you were able to make their day.
Yeah, always willing to make somebody's day.
There you go,
Chris. Highly too. So
yeah, very very much. Especially last podcast, I think it was AP Junior. How do you remember AP Junior, Dylan?
Yeah,
from our first days as the UI podcast, he's asking for you as well, and you were in the comment section. You knew that already.
Yeah, because I was like, where's AJ? I was like, where's AJ?
Yeah. Oh man. But thank you, Chris. Hopefully, you're able to deal with the heat. Maybe turn on a little bit of the AC.
It's not that bad right now, but we know how bad it's gonna get once.
Yeah, well, you know, every Californian's excuse to turn on the AC is just whenever it hits up to 72 degrees.
True, or just drink a lot of water.
That too. But all right then. You guys have a wonderful day. You guys take care. As always, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll be back next week to talk things all America in regards to that sense. Take care, and as always, arriba America. Good night, everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, this was another production of the Eagle Eye Podcast, the #1 source for all things Club America in English. Make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Eagle Eye Podcast and get all the latest news and coverage. And subscribe to our podcast wherever it is you may listen.